He looks like he owns credit. Oh my gosh. Man like Arthur from Batman.
Namaste, dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, bonjour, hola, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Kenneth Ten, as always. How are you? I hope you're well. We certainly are. It is Thursday, the 29th of June. We're live from Norbury, which is in southwest London. We are to the south of Streatham and to the north of Croydon, a Zone 3 commuting area. And we deal with mainly professional families looking to move from flats in more expensive areas because we're a bit cheaper on the housing front, but still need to commute into London. And we do a lot of rental as well. So we're kind of at both ends of the spectrum, at the coalface, so to speak, of selling and renting properties. So we have a kind of hands-on now perspective on what's going on out there. And what's going on is a lot, as you can imagine. There's a lot going on in the market. It seems there's an interesting headline. We like to give you the local and national views. And on the national side, the National Residential Landlords Association has expressed relief that Labour appears to be backing away from rent controls. As you may, rent controls were tried in Scotland and landlords ran a mile, and it's led to a huge shortage and dissatisfaction across the board, really, with the way the systems worked. And who knew that landlords would run the other way when you start to bring in rent control? So it looks like Labour are backing away from that. And the reason that's significant is everybody expects a Labour victory, of course. Not that I'm biased either way. I don't really have any particular faith in either set of politicians, frankly. When it comes to the housing market, it seems that they all want short-term sound bites rather than long-term solutions. And one of the things that the think tank is calling for is a 50% cut in stamp duty, which is an interesting idea. The idea that actually what will happen is there'll be people out there that wouldn't move, but if you cut stamp duty, it might well encourage them and give them the incentive to do so. And that is quite a significant and good idea, really, if you think it through. On the sadder side, there are 1,700 more people sleeping rough in London. That's a real blight, isn't it? I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, I do feel for these people. I do think we should do more to support the homeless, especially here in London. I know that the Big Issue do a good job of that. Many of the other charities, I think, do them a disservice in the way they approach this by demonising landlords. But that's not the way the Big Issue works. Over 1,700 people are sleeping rough in London. More people, that is. The figures show 21% rise in rough sleeping, with 10,000 people sleeping rough in 22-23 compared with 8,000. It's been attributed to the cost of living crisis, but also pressure on rents and everything else, and no doubt putting massive pressure on that sector. Obviously, Sadiq Khan has called for rent control. Yeah, that will help. How's that going to help a homeless person? Honestly, that happens sometimes. Bank of England had to make a strong move, according to The Independent. What he says is that he had to do this in order to stave off inflation. I think it's gone too far, too fast now. They weren't fast enough in raising rates, and now they're going overzealously and going a little bit further than they need to go, in my view. But that's just an opinion. There we are. The other thing is that the increase in prices across coastal towns is an interesting one, I thought, something on the lighter side, is that coastal areas are finding property prices increasing. And the average property price in Great Britain, for instance, is 240,000, but in coastal towns it's 300,000. Salcombe in Devon is the most expensive coastal real estate area, with an average asking price of 1.24 million. If you're a local around there, working in a shop or something like that, how are you meant to compete? I don't think you can, really. So I'm not sure how they get workers in. They must commute in from other areas. Sandbanks in Dorset's the other one, obviously, and then Aldeburgh in Suffolk. And then, of course, if you want a cheap one, Greenock in Scotland, you can buy a coastal home with £97,500. So there are more affordable areas, but there's a problem, isn't there? It's a bit chilly up there in Scotland. I'm not sure you want to go for a coastal town up there. Some of the coastal towns could be quite rough in south, let alone in Scotland in the winter. I bet it's quite tough. The banks are saying they could charge mortgage borrowers more over savings rates rules. Basically, the FCA are saying, look, it's the old rocket and feather thing where these building societies and banks are very quick to raise mortgage rates, but they're not quick to raise savings rates. And they're arguing that if they do that, then it will cost mortgage borrowers. Well, my view is they're just doing what they can to preserve and actually widen their profit margins. When you think base rates are 5% and some borrowers are getting charged up to 10, there's profiteering going on here, no doubt. And there are these mortgage prisoners, people that can't move from their existing rate because their financial situation is not good enough for another lender to consider them. And then they're trapped with these lenders that won't offer them any other kind of circumstance. The only thing they've got is these 9 or 10% rates. It doesn't seem fair that the most vulnerable people in our society are actually paying the highest rates. In fact, it's just not fair, and the government should legislate and let them bring it down to rates that other people can access, at least, I think. There should be something done there. and I don't think it would be that hard to do. I do understand there's more being done in terms of, they're allowing people to go interest only in many cases or extend the mortgage term, which is helpful, but it's not enough when interest rates have rocketed so greatly. As far as the market's concerned, there's still people out there looking, obviously in smaller numbers. Similarly with sellers, less people selling, but we've got the 3 Ds, death, divorce, and debt. They're always there, together with people moving for specific reasons such as schools, and sometimes people are moving out the area for things like health reasons, or they've reached an age where they're moving into perhaps a nursing home. We've had that a few times as well. Valuation's quiet today, so I do have space if you're thinking of needing some advice, both in terms of rental or sales. But as far as the market's concerned, definitely slower. People are definitely feeling the pinch. Not as much as you would expect. Many people are talking about the market falling off a cliff. It hasn't. But is it tough out there? Yes. Does it mean you'll get yourself a good deal? Yes, which is why it could be a very good time for you to move, depending on your circumstances. If you want to chat about that, give us a call, 0208 679 8601. Always keen to speak to you about that. Lots of offers still coming in on various properties, which is encouraging. A couple of good auction lots as well, including one we've just taken on, which will be coming up shortly, and a new instruction in a great residential area, which is great for commuting as well. So looking forward to presenting those once we get the particulars together for you. And thanks for watching as always. We'll be back tomorrow. Actually, we won't be back tomorrow because I'm away. Yay. Short holiday for Ken and family. So we'll be back on Tuesday, the next live for Ken at 10. In the meantime, I've just completed the podcast, which I hope to publish live, hopefully tomorrow for you. So if you can't get enough, then we'll put that live for you tomorrow. Keep well, look after yourselves, and if you can, your family and friends, and we'll speak to you on Tuesday. Until then, ciao.